Hello and welcome to an impromptu version of MLB Pro Happy Hour. I am your anonymous GM, and we had some breaking big news today in the land of MLB Pro. After a couple days of hearing about a potential trade of Jordan Lyles, the speculation came true. Jordan Lyles was traded to the New York Yankees in a 4-player trade. Coming into the day, the New York Yankees sat at 56 and 49, 9.5 games behind the first place Blue Jays in the East, and the Yankees were 4.5 out of the wild card race, trailing Texas by 2 games, 4.5 behind the White Sox, and 7 behind the Angels. The Tigers, on the other hand, of course, are in their quest for securing the 2021 number 1 overall pick in next year's amateur draft. Two franchises that are currently on opposite sides of the spectrum, and a trade that could shift things potentially some ways. Let's take a look at the trade. The trade that was posted this afternoon, to the surprise of I think many, included Jordan Lyles and Tommy Hanson being sent from Detroit to New York in exchange for Jose Abreu and Israel Cruz. Before we get into the ramifications necessarily of this trade, I want to take a second to look at each individual player on their own right. We're going to begin with the headliner, the player that I think many of us, including myself, thought was untradeable, or at least untradeable in the sense of attaining any value, and that was Jordan Lyles. 2 weeks shy of his 30th birthday, he's finishing year one of an 8-year deal at $171 million with the Tigers. He's due to make $23 million next year, has a player option after the 2021 season, and then if he opts in, has $112 million guaranteed over the next 5 years with a team option in 2027. Lyles has made headlines this season. He's 2-15 with an ERA just under 6 at 5.93. This is despite a strikeout rate at a career best 9.3 batters per 9 innings. Opposing batters are hitting a ridiculous 307 off of Lyles this year. This comes after hitters only hit 208 off of him last year. For his career, which includes this season, batters are hitting 256 off of Lyles. So based on his career, they're still hitting 51 points better this year than they have in the past. His batting average on balls in play against is at 374, 110 points higher than last year. Again, well above his career average of 302. Well, why is this happening? I think a lot of people have been asking. Well, part of the reason is obvious. The Detroit Tigers team defensive zone rating as of last Sunday night was negative 40.38, by far the worst in baseball. The Yankees zone rating is 5.33, 11th best. The third best defensive efficiency in all of baseball? Yeah, that belongs to the New York Yankees. Yankee pitchers have the second best batting average on balls in play average of any team in the American League. The second player heading to New York is Tommy Hanson. 34 years old, the Yankees take on none of Tommy Hanson's salary this year, but they are on the hook for either the $11 million buyout at the end of the season or his full $22 million salary next season. Hanson's been up and down this year. In 5 June starts, though, he had an ERA of 2.38 in 34 innings pitched with 29 strikeouts to just 3 walks. This stretch does include 20 innings pitched in 3 games against both the White Sox twice and the Blue Jays. In each of those 3 starts, quality starts. The Yankees have some first-hand knowledge of Tommy Hanson as they acquired him before the 2019 season in the Craig Kimbrell trade with the Cincinnati Reds. In his time with the Yankees, though, he was only 4-4 with a 4.88 ERA. Control was a big issue before he was traded to Toronto in May of 2019. What does this cost the Yankees? Well, let's start with Jose Abreu. The 33-and-a-half-year-old first baseman who's making $20 million this year, $26 million in 2021, and then a free agent to be in 2022. This season, though, he's been a force at the plate. He has 32 home runs, third best in the American League. He's hitting .300. His slugging percentage of .595 is second in the American League. His OPS of .947 is fourth best in the American League. No player in all of MLB Pro has more than Abreu's 62 extra base hits. What Detroit also gets is a player who has feasted on the road away from Yankee Stadium this year. Abreu has hit .353, on the road. He has an on-base percentage on the road of .399, 99 points better than what it was at Yankee Stadium. He was slugging so far this season .674 on the road and just .510 at home. Israel Cruz, the final piece of this deal, turns 30 next month. He's making $15 million this year, and again $15 million in 2021 and 2022, with a team option for 2023 that, if locked in, would pay him just over $14 million. He was acquired last July by the Tigers in a trade with the LA Dodgers. He was acquired by the Yankees last year with a trade from the Dodgers, and now obviously going to Detroit. But in his 162 games with the Yankees, Cruz hit .259 with an on-base percentage of .336 and a slugging percentage of .412, 24 homers, 63 RBIs, and 196 strikeouts in 630 at-bats. He's a subpar defender in center. So what does this all mean? Let's start with the Yankees, and I think the biggest question mark of this trade. What comes of Jordan Lyles? Is it the pitcher who had success and ate up innings with the Angels the last 2 years, or is it the pitcher that was sent to the bullpen to be a bullpen catcher with the Detroit Tigers? Is it a pitcher that now will see a defense behind him lift up his abilities and transform him back into what he could be? A player that the Tigers hoped he would be with that big contract. A player the Yankees hope he can be sitting behind Trevor Bauer in that rotation. But here's where things can get dicey here. Let's start with Trevor Bauer. The Yankees brought in Trevor Bauer from the Atlanta Braves earlier this year, hoping he'd be, frankly, an ace. And his time in the American League East, both with Boston in 2016 through 2018 and in his 16 starts with the Yankees, it looks vastly different than his time in Atlanta. The American League East is a tough place to pitch. On the other side of things, the Yankees earlier this year brought in Archie Bradley from Cincinnati, and in 50 1/3 innings pitched with the Yankees, he's been fantastic. So does Jordan Lyles, with a good defense behind him, a defense that can get to the ball, if he keeps the ball in the ballpark, can Jordan Lyles be a number two? And if he can, how big of an upgrade is it to the Yankees? Because the two questions I have really are, one, does it make sense for the Yankees to try and pitch their way to compete with the elite teams in the American League, or were they better off the way they were built right now? And that was simply trying to outscore teams. They're still, in any start against, let's say, Seattle, the pitching edge will still go to the Mariners with Hooper and Holtzen. And then obviously Bundy, Appel in the future. You look at the Blue Jays, top of their rotation right now. You still have, well, they acquired Michael Wacha. They still have Villette, Broderick Wilson, Chris Gray's been fantastic. And who knows, the Blue Jays still might go out and get something else. But the Yankees were known for a team that could outslug anyone. And now you take two bats out of that lineup. What does that do? And I guess the second thing is, if the Yankees were looking to upgrade their pitching, this obviously came at a steep cost. Would they have been better off focusing on the bullpen and not the rotation? Could they have gotten ample bullpen arms and kept the major league roster intact? I think there were some financial implications that financial implications and limitations the Yankees were dealing with. But it's going to be an interesting question mark, especially if the bullpen is not fixed. Will Jordan Lyles' starts go to waste if he does return to form? The second question with the Yankees is, who fills the void left behind from Abreu and Cruz? When you look in center field, the Yankees' options are somewhat limited. The most likely person to assume the center field role is Ivan Chavez. He's a career .220 hitter, .288 on-base percentage, and just over 2,300 MLB Pro at-bats. That's what he is. He's a guy that's not going to hit for average. He's not going to get on base, but he does have power, and he's going to play some decent center field. Probably better center field than Cruz was playing for the Yankees. At first base, I think they have three options. Option one is Ramon Ortiz. 20 homers in 70 games, 256 at-bats this year. He's just a .234 hitter. Again, another player with an under 300 on-base percentage. But the power's there. Can he fill in for Abreu at first? Do they maybe go to Joe Mauer, who they recently acquired, and give him the first base role? Hope his on-base percentage may be near the top of the lineup in front of Arai. Gives gives the Yankees a chance there, or do they go out and get someone? The player that I have been hampering that needs to be traded over on Happy Hour the last few weeks has been Anthony Rizzo. Another bat, a good defender. Contract, I believe, expires at the end of the year. Power. I think Anthony Rizzo would go a long way to filling the missing hole that is going to be left behind from Jose Abreu. That's the Yankees side, so let's take a look at the Tigers side. Why did the Tigers do this? Well, one, the Tigers did this to get rid of Jordan Lyles. Beyond just Jordan Lyles' contract, it was the Jordan Lyles' lack of production and the team chemistry. There was a ton of reasons why they did it. The biggest part of this trade, I think, from the Tigers' perspective in their quest to find offense for these next few years to help the likes of Anthony Chapman, Matthew Liberatore, and the rest of that pitching staff, it's what do they do with Jose Abreu long term? He's already getting there up in age. I believe 33, I said this year. Signed $20 million this year, 26 next year. But what do they do for 2022? Do they extend him? Are they willing to give a 35-year-old first baseman money? Do they play out this deal and let him walk in 2 years? Or do they flip him now for prospects or younger, cheaper players immediately? While he's having a fantastic year, is this the chance to do that? Without a long-term commitment to Jordan Lyles, they do have some wiggle room. Do they give it to Abreu? Do they wait for free agency? Will there be any hesitation in the free agent market moving forward with Detroit, seeing as how it backfired on them this year? Will they use some of this money to go acquire another player via the trade market before Friday? Or come the offseason, do they invest this money by throwing a ton of money into player development? The final question I think the Tigers have to move forward with is what type of impact does this trade have on team chemistry? An area that recently has been a big issue, both with Lyles complaining about his role and other players on the team complaining about the lack of success the team has had. You've had Xavier Noonan throw a tantrum in the locker room earlier in this week. Does this trade perhaps improve in the offense? Not having Jordan Lyles giving up 8 runs at a time, does it give the Tigers some extra wins that maybe they wouldn't have had the rest of the way, and does that improve team chemistry? It's going to be an interesting thing there. I did get some comments from other league insiders and sources, reporters, and general managers immediately following the trade, and I wanted to quickly explore some of those. The first league reporter that came to me had a unfavorable outlook on the Yankees moving forward. It was, quote, "Rest in peace to the Yankees of the 2020s. This move might take a decade to fix the Yankees at this point in time." The financial commitment that the Yankees have now given to Bauer, to Arai, to Sanchez, and now bringing in Jordan Lyles, the Yankees are committed to a group of players for the foreseeable future. And a group of players that, while are still producing outside of Lyles, and maybe that changes with him, but are producing on the wrong side of 30 years old. Are they in danger of following the likes of the San Francisco Giants, a team that got old in a hurry? And when you look at that division, you still have Mitch and the Blue Jays, who are always going to be aggressive and always going to be building for the present. You have the Red Sox, who are still they're stuck a bit at the current moment, but with some financial flexibility coming their way with Dominic Brown set to be a free agent at the end of the year. You have the the Rays, rebuilding, so a season or two out from competing, and then the Orioles, who are also rebuilding. So the Yankees, even if they get old, they still have this window in the next couple of years, in my opinion, to compete in the East. Another league insider felt this deal, much like their opinion of the Felix Hernandez trade, classified this as a lose-lose, but they believe this one is even worse. In their mind, the Yankees just traded their 7-WAR, 150 OPS plus first baseman and corner outfielder to take on Jordan Lyles and an extra $70 million in expenses. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. Again, if Jordan Lyles bounces back to what he was with the Angels the last 2 years, maybe the commitment works, and maybe if he improves in New York, that player option that seems so unlikely to be picked up or exercised following the 2021 season. Maybe there's a chance of that. A good finish to the season here and a good 2021 season, and maybe Jordan Lyles says, "Hey, look, I've proved myself. I'm on a good team. I can produce." And he opts out of his final $100 million contract, and then the Yankees come out ahead of this. The final viewpoint was the Tigers got out from under Jordan Lyles, yes, but they picked up no prospects and basically retained 50% of the deal. It was clear there were no offers of less retention out there. I think what they mean by that was the salary that went back, both in the retaining Tommy Hanson and taking on the big contracts of Abreu and Cruz. I'm still of the belief that Abreu was a player that they were looking at both for the short term to improve the offense, but also for that potential to flip. I would go on. I'm not going to go on record as saying as I think Jose Abreu gets traded, because I don't. But I think it might be wise if he were. I don't know who would be out there to acquire him at the moment, because I'm still stunned by this trade. I think like many else were. And it's only Wednesday afternoon, so between now and Friday, I'm sure there's going to be more trades that shock us all. But that was a quick look at what happened today with the Yankees and the Tigers. And there really isn't much else to say other than wow. A trade that I think very few saw coming. Scott did suggest that a trade, if Lyles was going to be sent, it was going to be the Yankees, and he was spot on. Other than Scott, though, and Rhett from within New York, I don't know who saw this one coming. But I give credit both to Rhett for having the courage to pull the move, and for Jim in finding a taker for Jordan Lyles, because I was convinced this was a smokescreen and there was no deal coming. So that's the anonymous GM's take of the Yankees-Tigers swap. The trade deadline excitement is here. Good luck to teams the rest of the way.